Hello, word nerds. Welcome to another episode of The Dictionary. This is Spencer. I will be your reader today and every other day until the day I die. First word for today is acold, A-C-O-L-D, adjective from 14th century. It is archaic, it's telling me. Synonyms are cold and chilled, as in, the owl, for all his feathers, was acold. That is from John Keats. Basically, it just means the word cold. Next, we have acolyte, A-C-O-L-Y-T-E. This is a noun from 14th century. 1. One who assists a member of the clergy in a liturgical service by performing minor duties. 2. One who attends or assists, and the word follower is a synonym. Let's look at this etymology. I'm seeing Middle English, Anglo-French, Middle Latin, Anglo-French. What is the most important part? Basically, it's from a Greek word meaning following, which combines a or ha, H-A, which means together, plus kiluthos, which means path. Not really sure where they get colite from kiluthos, but it's interesting how words evolve over many, many, many years. Next is aconite, A-C-O-N-I-T-E. This is a noun from 1548. 1. It is the synonym monk's hood. One word, monk's hood. 2. The dried, poisonous, tuberous root of a common monk's hood, used especially formerly for its medicinal properties, as in relieving pain. And the scientific Latin term for monk's hood is aconitum napellus. Next we have the word acorn, noun from before the 12th century. The nut of the oak, usually seated in or surrounded by a hard, woody cupule of indurated bracts. Lots of words that don't get used much. And then there's a picture of an acorn. I'm sure you've seen an acorn, but if you haven't, go ahead and look up what they look like. The squirrels that live around my building absolutely love the tons and tons of acorns that fall to the ground. There's a certain time of year when it is just covered in acorns. Let's see what the etymology says. Middle English, Old English, akin to MHG acaran, which means acorns collectively. Old Irish, airn. I don't think I've seen Old Irish in here before. Airn, A-I-R-N-E, which means slow, S-L-O-E. Woga, U-O-G-A, which means berry. I'm sort of guessing on a lot of this stuff. Next is acorn squash. Noun from 1937. An acorn-shaped dark green winter squash with a ridged surface and mildly sweet yellow to orange flesh. And the scientific Latin name is cucurbita pepo, or pepo. That's a food that you will find a lot in the fall, along with pumpkins and other things like that. Next is acorn woodpecker, noun from 1981. A woodpecker found from the U.S. Pacific coast south to Colombia that stores acorns in small holes which it digs, especially in the bark of trees. So they're kind of like the squirrels of the bird family. And the scientific name, we've got a lot of these recently, is Melanerpes formacivorus. Next is acorn worm, noun from circa 1889. Any of the class of burrowing worm-like marine animals having an acorn-shaped proboscis and classified with the hemichordates. And the class that was mentioned is called Enteropnusta. Something like that. Next is the word acoustic. This is an adjective from 1605. 1. Of or relating to the sense or organs of hearing, to sound, or to the science of sounds, as in acoustic apparatus of the ear or acoustic energy. 1a. Deadening or absorbing sound, as in acoustic tile. There's actually a lot of acoustic foam around me right now because I'm in an audio booth. 1b. Operated by or utilizing sound waves. 2. Of, relating to, or being a musical instrument whose sound is not electronically modified, like an acoustic guitar. Acoustically is the adverb. And let's see what the etymology says. The Greek word acoustikos, which means of hearing, and then that's from akuien. I, again, don't know the pronunciation of that, which means to hear, and there's more at the word hear, H-E-A-R. When I was in college, I took a class called, I'm trying to remember it, there was the physics of music, that was one of them, and I think the science of sound was the other class, and there was definitely a little bit of talk of acoustics. I remember my teacher saying either that she was an acoustician, which is our next word, or she knows acousticians. And that definition is it's a noun from 1859, a specialist in acoustics. So they would go into a theater, say, and or help design a theater to make sure that the sound, there would be no dead areas, that all the sound from the stage would get to all of the seats as evenly and as in the best way possible. That is a very scientific but pretty cool job. Next is acoustics. Noun, plural, from 1683. 1, in italics, it says sing in constr. That's abbreviation for something. A science that deals with the production, control, transmission, reception, and effects of sound. 2, also acoustic. The qualities that determine the ability of an enclosure, as an auditorium, to reflect sound waves in such a way as to produce distinct hearing. Yeah, that's basically what I said. Next is ACP, all caps. This is an abbreviation for 1, African, Caribbean, and Pacific, as in the states. The Pacific states? I don't know. I haven't heard of that before. 2, American College of Physicians. Next is ACPT, all lowercase, an abbreviation for the word acceptance. Next is acquaint, ACQUAINT. This is a transitive verb from the 14th century. 1, to cause to know personally, as in was acquainted with the mayor. 2, to make familiar or cause to know firsthand, and a synonym is the word inform. And for the etymology, it looks like it is from the Latin word that means to recognize, acognoscere, and that is combined. They're combining the words ad and cognoscere, which means to know, and there's more at the word cognition. Next is acquaintance, noun from 14th century. 1a, the state of being acquainted. 1b, personal knowledge. Synonym is familiarity. 2a, the persons with whom one is acquainted, as in should old AULD, acquaintance, be forgot. That is from Robert Burns, and that is a line from the song Auld Lang Syne, which we typically sing at New Year's. I actually remember seeing pretty recently a video on YouTube. I don't remember who it was from. Maybe it was from Vox, VOX. that had a video just about the song and kind of where it came from and what the lyrics mean. That was kind of interesting. If I find it again, I'll put that in the episode details. 2b, a person whom one knows, but who is not a particularly close friend, as in a casual acquaintance. Acquaintanceship is a noun. And we've got one more for today. Acquaintance rape. I can guess what this means, but I don't think I've ever heard that term before. Noun from 1979. Rape committed by someone known to the victim. That's pretty much what I thought. No matter what kind of rape it is extremely unfortunate. And on that extremely happy note, as I say sarcastically, we will end the episode. And next one, we will begin at the top of the second column of page 11. Thank you and goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome back to another episode. As you've probably figured out, I record 4 at once usually. That's basically one page in the dictionary because it's there's 2 columns and I split each one up into 2. We ended the last one on a very unfortunate note. I hope we don't have to do that again, but they'll come up every once in a while. They are words and phrases that we need to be aware of. So next is acquiesce. ACQUIESCE. This is, where is, there it is, intransitive verb from 1651. To accept, comply, or submit tacitly or passively, often used with in and sometimes with to. And a synonym is assent. And it looks like the etymology is from the Latin acquiscere, which is combining ad plus quiscere, which means to be quiet. And there's more at the word quiescent, Quiescent. Next is a similar word, acquiescence. This is a noun from 1646. 1. The act of acquiescing, the state of being acquiescent. And 2. An instance of acquiescing. Next, another similar word, acquiescent. ACQUIESCENT. Adjective from 1753. Inclined to acquiesce. And acquiescently is the adverb. Next is acquirable. Adjective from 1646. Capable of being acquired. And next is the word acquire. Transitive verb from the 15th century. 1. To get as one's own. 1a. To come into possession or control of, often by unspecified means. 1b. To come to have as a new or added characteristic, trait, or ability, as by sustained effort or natural selection, as in acquire fluency in French, or bacteria that acquire tolerance to antibiotics. 2. To locate and hold a desired object in a detector, as in acquire a target by radar. The etymology says it's from the Latin acquirere, which is combining ad plus quarere, which means to seek or obtain. Next we have a long phrase, acquired immune deficiency syndrome. You may already know what this is. This is a noun from 1982, and it's just has the synonym AIDS. And actually the very next word is the exact same thing, except instead of immune deficiency, it's immunodeficiency, all one word. Yep, we found another really depressing word in the dictionary. Won't be the last. I wonder, we will probably, because that's a synonym, AIDS is the synonym of those. I assume when we get to the AIs, there will be a much longer definition for that. But next we have acquired taste, noun from 1840, something or someone that is not easily or immediately liked or appreciated. I am not a fan of mushrooms. I'm hoping that I can acquire that taste because I know that they are good for you and they are in many dishes, but I really have not acquired that yet. I'm sort of working on it. Next is acquiree, A-C-Q-U-I-R-E-E, noun from 1969. One as a company that is acquired. Synonym is acquisition. Next is acquirement, noun from 1630. One, a skill of mind or body, usually resulting from continued endeavor. Two, the act of acquiring. Next is acquirer, A-C-Q-U-I-R-E-R, noun from 1768. One that acquires, especially a company that acquires another company. Acquisition, noun, from the 14th century. One, the act of acquiring. There's a lot of similarities in these last few words. Two, something or someone acquired or gained, as in the team announced 2 new acquisitions. Acquisitional is the adjective, and acquisitor, I think that's how it's pronounced, or acquisitor, is a noun. Acquisitive is an adjective from 1835, strongly desirous of acquiring and possessing. Synonym is the word covetous. Acquisitively is an adverb, and acquisitiveness is a noun. Next we have the word acquit. This is a transitive verb from the 13th century. 1a. This is an archaic form, to pay off as a claim or debt. And 1b is an obsolete form. Repay and requite are synonyms. 2. To discharge completely as from an obligation or accusation, as in the court acquitted the prisoner. 3. To conduct oneself usually satisfactorily, especially under pressure, as in the recruits acquitted themselves like veterans. And synonyms are behave and exculpate, E-X-C-U-L-P-A-T-E. Acquitter is the noun. For the etymology, it looks like Anglo-French acquitter, which is combining ad, which is Latin, plus quite. I don't think it's pronounced that, but that's how it's spelled, which means free of. And there's more at the word quit. And next we have acquittal, A-C-Q-U-I-T-T-A-L, noun from 15th century, a setting free from the charge of an offense by verdict, sentence, or other legal process. And next word, because it's related, and this will be our last one for this episode, acquittance, noun from 14th century, a document evidencing a discharge from an obligation, especially a receipt in full. And with that, we will end this episode, and I will record the next one and the last for today. Thank you for listening. My email is dictionarypod@gmail.com, and there's a Twitter, at dictionarypod, and there's a Facebook page. You can search, I believe, just The Dictionary Pod. I think it's facebook.com/thedictionarypod. I don't really post much on these, but I do post the link sometimes. I should probably get a little bit more creative with that. Thank you for listening, and goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Right off the bat, I will say thank you for listening. This is my 4th episode recording, so don't worry, I won't say that every time I record. Just letting you know. So, first word today. This is a prefix, ACR- or ACRO-. This is from, I don't know if it's giving me a year. 1, beginning, end, or tip, as in acronym. 2a, top, peak, summit, as in acropetal, P-E-T-A-L. 2b, height, as in acrophobia. And the etymology is saying this is from, I think, the Greek akros, which means topmost or extreme. And this is akin to the Greek acme, which we read before, which means point. And there's more at the word edge. Next is acre, A-C-R-E. This is a noun from before the 12th century, 1a. An archaic definition, a field, especially of arable land or pasture land. 1b, plural. It has the synonyms lands and estate. 2, any of various units of area, specifically a unit in the U.S. and England equal to 43,560 square feet, or 4,047 square meters. And it says, see at the word weight, there is a table. I wonder why it's at the word weight. That's interesting. 3, a broad expanse or great quantity, as in acres of free publicity. I would love to remember the numbers, 43,560 square feet or 4,047 square meters, because you never know when you're going to need that information about how big an acre is. I probably won't remember it, but I will try. Next is acreage, noun from 1859. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot the etymology. Let's see if there's anything interesting. This is from the Greek agros, and perhaps the Latin agere, which means to drive. And there's more at the word agent. Again, I find it fascinating that the word agent and acre are somehow related from many, many years past. I have mentioned that lots of episodes ago. I don't remember which one. Acreage, noun from 1859. Area in acres. And it just has the synonym acres. Next is acre foot. Acre-foot. Noun from 1900. The volume as of irrigation water that would cover 1 acre to a depth of 1 foot. This reminds me of, I think it's foot candles in stage, old stage plays. I think that's where the term originated, and it kind of morphed into the world of film. You will sometimes see the term foot candles to measure how much light there is, and it's similar to this acre foot, where it's like how much light is produced 1 foot away from the source, something like that. I don't remember, but I'm sure we'll read about it when we get there. Next is acre inch, noun circa 1909, 1/12 of an acre foot. And if you think about it, that makes sense. If an acre foot is how much water fills 1 foot, 1/12 of that is 1 inch. And probably because we're in America, this is an American English dictionary, we're not seeing anything like acre meter or acre centimeter. That would just be insane. But next is acrid, A-C-R-I-D, adjective from 1712. 1, sharp and harsh or unpleasantly pungent in taste or odor. Irritating is a synonym. 2, deeply or violently bitter. Acrimonious is a synonym, as in an acrid denunciation. And there's another synonym. It says, see the word caustic, C-A-U-S-T-I-C. Acridity is a noun. Acridly is an adverb, and acridness is a noun. And the etymology says it's a modified form of a Latin word, or the ACR prefix, which means sharp, and there's more at the word edge. Next is acridine. I think that's how it's pronounced, A-C-R-I-D-I-N-E. This looks like another scientific term or word. This is a noun circa 1877, a colorless crystalline compound, C13H9N, occurring in coal tar and important as the parent compound of dyes and pharmaceuticals. Next is acridine orange, noun circa 1909, a basic orange dye structurally related to acridine and used especially to stain nucleic acids. Next is acraflavine. Acraflavine. This is a noun from 1917. It is made combining acridine plus flavine. It is a yellow dye, C14H14N3Cl, used as an antiseptic, especially for wounds. Acrimonious, adjective from 1659, caustic, biting, or rancorous, especially in feeling, language, or manner, as in an acrimonious dispute. Acrimoniously is an adverb. Acrimoniousness is a noun. Acrimony is the next word, noun from 1542, harsh or biting sharpness, especially of words, manner, or disposition. Next is acritarch. 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 This is a noun from 1963. Any of a group of fossil one-celled marine planktonic organisms of uncertain and possibly various taxonomic affinities held to represent the earliest known eukaryotes. And eukaryotes is EUKARYOTES. The etymology is Greek akritos, which means uncertain, and that is combining a plus kritos, or krenine, which means to decide, and then also akri, or arche, ARCHE, which means beginning, and there's more at the words certain and arch, the prefix arch, ARCH. Next is acrobat, noun from 1825. One that performs gymnastic feats requiring skillful control of the body. That's not me. 2A, one skillful at exercises of intellectual or artistic dexterity. Also not me. 2B, one adept at swiftly exchanging or adapting a position or viewpoint, as in a political acrobat. Yeah, I don't think that's really me either. Acrobatic is an adjective. Acrobatically is an adverb. This is from, looks like, the Greek acrobates, which is combining ACR plus banin, which means to go. And there's more at the word come, C-O-M-E. Acrobatics is next. This is a noun from 1882. 1. The art, performance, or activity of an acrobat. 2. A spectacular, showy, or startling performance or demonstration involving great agility or complexity. Next and last word for today. Acrocentric, adjective from 1945, having the centromere situated so that one chromosomal arm is much shorter than the other. And that is it for this episode. Again, thank you for listening. We will return in the next episode at the top of page 12. Should I tell you what the word is? It is acrolect. No idea what that is. That is it for today. Thank you for listening, as I've said now 3 times this episode, and goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to another episode. Right off the bat, let me just say, if you haven't heard it before, I have an email, dictionarypod@gmail.com, and Twitter is @dictionarypod, and Facebook, I think it's facebook.com/thedictionarypod, and of course, at least a couple of those links are in the episode details. All right, let's get to the words. That's what you're here for. First word for this episode is acrolect. Acrolect. This is a noun from 1964. The language variety of a speech community closest to the standard or prestige form of a language. Next is acrolein. Acrolein. This is a noun circa 1857. A colorless, irritant, pungent liquid, aldehyde, C3H4O, used chiefly in organic synthesis. And this is from, it looks like, the Latin olere, which means to smell, or at least that's part of the word. Next is acromegaly. Acromegaly, I think that's how it's pronounced. This is a noun from 1889. A disorder caused by excessive production of growth hormone by the pituitary gland, and marked especially by progressive enlargement of hands, feet, and face. That does not sound very fun. Acromegaly. Acromegalic is an adjective or noun. Next is acronym. This is a noun from 1943. I think I've even said this word multiple times in the various episodes. This is a word as NATO or radar or laser, formed from the initial letter or letters of each of the successive parts or major parts of a compound term. Also, an abbreviation, as FBI, formed from initial letters. Initialism is a synonym. Acronymic is an adjective, and acronymically is an adverb. So for those who don't know, or who didn't know until now, words like radar, laser, and I know sonar is another one, where each of those letters are the first letters of words that give more information to what that thing is. I definitely do not know what those words are, but I have heard them in the past. Next is acropedal or acropedal. This is an adjective from 1875, proceeding from the base toward the apex or from below upward, as in acropedal development or of floral buds. Acropedally is the adverb. And I think I pronounced it wrong. I think it's acropetal, and petal is like a petal of a flower, which is why you've got that example of floral buds. Next, we have acrophobia, noun from circa 1888. Abnormal dread of being in a high place, fear of heights. Acrophobe is a noun. That would be the person who has acrophobia. And acrophobic is the adjective. So the acrophobe is acrophobic because they have acrophobia. Next is acropolis. This is a noun from 1662. The upper fortified part of an ancient Greek city as Athens. Also, a usually fortified height of a city or district elsewhere, as in Central America. This is from the Greek Acropolis, which is combining ACR or AKR plus polis, P-O-L-I-S, which means city, and there's more at the word police. So Acropolis and police are related because polis means city. Acrosome is the next word, noun from 1899, an interior prolongation of a spermatozoon that releases egg-penetrating enzymes. Acrosomal is the adjective. Across is the next word, first form of 3. This is an adverb from the 14th century. 1. In a position reaching from one side to the other. Crosswire is a synonym. 2. To or on the opposite side. 3. So as to be understandable, acceptable, or successful, as in get an argument across. Second form of across is an adjective, circa 1576. The definition is being in a crossed position. And the third form of across, this is a preposition from 1591, and I think this will be the last word for this episode. 1a, from one side to the opposite side of. Synonyms are over and through, as in swam across the river. 1b, on the opposite side of, as in lives across the street from us. Oh no, not lives, lives across the street from us. That's where English is funky. Lives can be pronounced lives or lives, and it's hard to know until you have context. And when it's the very first word of a phrase or a sentence, you don't have context yet. Moving on. 2, second definition of the third form of across. So as to intersect or pass through at an angle, as in sawed across the grain of the wood. 3, so as to find or meet, as in came across your football in the hall closet. 4a, throughout is the synonym, as in obvious interest across the nation, and that is from Robert Goralski. 4b, so as to include or take into consideration all classes or categories, as in across differences they insist. There can be no rational dialogue, and that's from Houston Smith. And with that, we will end this episode. Thank you for listening, and now I will record the next one. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Thank you for joining me for another episode. We'll get right into it because I think this will be a little on the long side. First word is across the board. Across dash the or the dash board. This is an adjective from 1945. 1. Placed to win if a competitor wins, places, or shows, as in an across-the-board racing bet. 2. Embracing or affecting all classes or categories. Blanket is a synonym, as in an across-the-board price increase. Acrostic is our next word. This is a noun from 1530. 1. A composition usually in the verse in which sets of letters as the initial or final letters of the lines, taken in order, form a word or phrase or a regular sequence of letters of the alphabet. And this is similar to our word acronym from the last episode. And the definition for number 2 is just the word acronym. Acrostic or acrostical are adjectives, and acrostically is the adverb. Etymology says this is from the Greek, what is this word? Akrostikos, which is combining AKR or ACR plus stikos, STICHOS, which means line. And this is akin to stiking, which means to go. And there's more at the word stare. Interesting. Next, we have acrylamide. Acrylamide. Yep, I think that's how it's pronounced. This is a noun from 1893. An amide, C3H5NO, that is derived from acrylic acid that polymerizes readily and that is used in the manufacture of synthetic textile fibers. Acrylate is our next word, noun from 1873. 1. A salt or ester of acrylic acid. 2. It is the synonym acrylic resin. Next is the word acrylic, first form. This is an adjective from 1845. 1. Of or relating to acrylic acid or its derivatives, as in acrylic polymers. 2. Made or consisting of an acrylic, as in an acrylic window. Second form of acrylic, noun from 1942. 1a. It's the synonym again, acrylic resin. 1b. A paint in which the vehicle is an acrylic resin. 1c. A painting done in an acrylic resin. 2. The synonym acrylic fiber. Next is acrylic acid, noun from 1845. An unsaturated liquid acid, C3H4O2, that polymerizes readily to form useful products as constituents for varnishes and lacquers. Next is acrylic fiber, noun from 1951, a quick-drying synthetic textile fiber made by polymerization of acrylonitrile or acrylonitrile, usually with other monomers or monomers. Lots of words I do not know. Next is our good friend acrylic resin, noun from 1936, a glassy thermoplastic made by polymerizing acrylic acid or methacrylic acid or a derivative of either and used for cast and molded parts or as coatings and adhesives. Next is acrylonitrile. Oh, now we get this word that I couldn't pronounce. Acrylonitrile. Noun from 1893. A colorless, volatile, flammable liquid nitrile, C3H3N, used chiefly in organic synthesis and for polymerization. And we are done with those crazy scientific words. They're not crazy, they're just crazy to me because I'm not used to them. Next is ACS, all caps. This is an abbreviation for 1, the American Chemical Society, or 2, the American College of Surgeons. Next is the word ACT, A-C-T, first form of it. And we are going to have 3 forms, this is all lowercase. This is a noun from the 14th century, 1A, a doing of a thing. That sounds like some silly joke that I would say. The synonym is deed, D-E-E-D. 1B, something done voluntarily. 2, a state of real existence rather than possibility. 3, the formal product of a legislative body. Statute is a synonym, and it says also a decision or determination of a sovereign, a legislative council, or a court of justice. 4, the process of doing. Action is the synonym, as in caught in the act. 5, often capitalized, a formal record or something done or transacted. 6, one of the principal divisions of a theatrical work, as a play or opera. 7a, one of successive parts or performances, as in a variety show or circus. 7b, the performer or performers in such an act. 7c, a performance or presentation identified with a particular individual or group. 7d, the sum of a person's actions or effects that serve to create an impression or set an example, as in a hard act to follow. 8, a display of affected behavior. Pretense is the synonym. Into the act or in on the act means into an undertaking or situation as an active participant. Moving on to the second form of act, not quite as long as the first one. Transitive verb from 1591. This is obsolete. It has the synonyms actuate and animate. 2a, to represent or perform by action, especially on the stage. 2b, we have the synonyms feign, F-E-I-G-N, and simulate. 2c, we have the synonym impersonate. 3, to play the part of as if in a play, as in act the man of the world. 4, to behave in a manner suitable to, as in act your age. Now we're into the intransitive verb definitions. 1a, to perform on the stage. 1b, to behave as if performing on the stage. Pretend is the synonym. 2, to take action. Move is the synonym, as in think before acting, or acted favorably on the recommendation. 3, to conduct oneself. Behave is the synonym, as in act like a fool. That is me, oftentimes. 4, to perform a specified function. Serve is the synonym, as in trees acting as a windbreak. 5. To produce an effect. Work is the synonym, as in wait for a medicine to act. 6. In italics it says of a play. To be capable of being performed, as in the play acts well. 7. To give a decision or award, as in adjourned without acting on the bill. Actability is a noun, and actable is the adjective. And then the third form of act, very short, and this will be the last word for today. It is an abbreviation for either 1, the word active, 2, actor. I'm pronouncing that very clearly. I would normally just say actor. And 3, actual, A-C-T-U-A-L. And with that, we will end this episode. Thank you very much for listening, and I will talk to you in the next episode. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to another episode. Here we go. Number 1. Nope, not number 1. The first word is act, A-C-T. But this time, because we ended the last episode with the same word, this time it is all caps and it is an abbreviation, at least the first form of it is. It is an abbreviation for 1, Action for Children's Television, 2, Association of Classroom Teachers, and 3, Australian Capital Territory. And now we have the second form of ACT, all caps. This is a trademark used for a standardized achievement test to evaluate suitability for college admission. Next, we have a word that I will have trouble pronouncing, Actaeon. Actaeon. That is capital A-C-T-A-E-O-N. This is a noun from the 14th century. A hunter turned into a stag and killed by his own hounds for having seen Artemis bathing. So that sounds like that is from some Greek mythology. Next, we have ACTG, all lowercase. This is an abbreviation for the word acting. Seems kind of silly to have an abbreviation for a 6-letter word when the abbreviation is 4 letters, but I guess sometimes you really need to save space. All right, next we have ACTH, all caps. This is a noun from 1944. The full word is, this is going to be interesting, adrenocorticotropic hormone. Adrenocorticotropic hormone. So the A is from adreno, the C is from cortico, the T is from tropic, and then the H is from the second word hormone. It says, a protein hormone of the anterior lobe of the pituitary gland that stimulates the adrenal cortex. Next is actin, A-C-T-I-N. This is a noun from 1942, a cellular protein found especially in microfilaments, as those comprising myofibrils, and active in muscular contraction, cellular movement, and maintenance of cell shape. Next is the same word actin, but it has a dash at the end, so it's a prefix. And this is not giving me a year, but the definition is number 1, having a radiate form, as in actinolite, and 2, actinic radiation as X-rays, as in actinometer. This looks like this is coming from the Greek actin, A-K-T-I-N, which is possibly related to the Old English U-H-T-E. I don't know the pronunciation of that, which means morning twilight. And also the Latin noct, N-O-C-T, or nox, which means night, and there's more information at the word night. Next is the word acting. First form of it, noun from 1598, the art or practice of representing a character on a stage or before cameras. And now we have the second form of acting. This is an adjective from 1797, 1. Holding a temporary rank or position, performing services temporarily, as in acting president. 2a. Suitable for stage performance, as in an acting play. 2b. Prepared with directions for actors, as in an acting text of a play. Next is actinian, noun, from 1869. It just has the synonym sea anemone. And I just learned that a sea anemone is also called an actinian. Almost sounds like an alien life form. Next we have actinic, actinic. This is an adjective from 1844 of relating to, resulting from, or exhibiting chemical changes produced by radiant energy, especially in the visible and ultraviolet parts of the spectrum, as in actinic light or actinic keratosis. And actinically is the adverb. Next we have actinide, actinide, noun from 1945. Any of the series of elements with increasing atomic numbers that begins with actinium or thorium and ends with lawrencium. And then it says, see the periodic table. No, it says, see periodic table, which is the synonym. By the way, synonym is kind of a loose term in situations like this. But I will try that again. It says, see periodic table, table. Next we have actinium. This is a noun from 1900, a radioactive trivalent metallic element that resembles lanthanium in chemical properties, and that is found especially in pitchblende. And then it says, see the element table. Actinolite is the next word, noun from 1794, a bright green or grayish-green mineral of the amphibole or amphibole group that is a silicate of calcium, magnesium, and iron occurring in fibrous, radiate, or columnar forms. Lots of information I do not understand. Next is where is the emphasis on this one? I always have trouble finding the emphasis with words that end in meter. So let's see. Actinometer, that's it. Noun from 1833. Any of the various instruments for measuring the intensity of incident radiation, especially one in which the intensity of radiation is measured by the speed of a photochemical reaction. Actinometric is the adjective, and actinometry is the noun. Next we have actinomorphic. This is an adjective from 1881, being radially symmetrical and capable of division by any longitudinal plane into essentially symmetrical halves, as in an actinomorphic tulip flower. And actinomorphy is the noun. And I believe that is a good place to end this episode. Apologies for all of the failures in pronunciation and working through them, but that's all part of this fun podcast. And I will talk to you in the next one. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to another episode of The Dictionary. Where did we leave off? I think it was actinomorphic. We will start this episode with actinomyces. Is that the correct pronunciation? Actinomyces. Yep, that's it. This is a noun from 1882. Any of a genus of filamentous or rod-shaped bacteria that includes usually commensal and sometimes pathogenic forms inhabiting mucosal surfaces, especially of the oral cavity of warm-blooded vertebrates. And the genus mentioned at the beginning is Actinomyces, Well, that's the word that we're talking about. Etymology. It is saying, this is from the Greek myket, which means fungus, and it is akin to the Greek myxa, M-Y-X-A, which means mucus, and there's more information at the word mucus. Next is actinomycete. By the way, that is spelled A-C-T-I-N-O-M-Y-C-E-T-E. This is a noun from 1883. Any of an order of filamentous and rod-shaped bacteria as the actinomyces and streptomyces. So clearly this is related to the previous one. Next we have actinomycin, A-C-T-I-N-O-M-Y-C-I-N, noun from 1940. Any of the various red or yellow-red, mostly toxic polypeptide antibiotics isolated from soil bacteria, especially Streptomyces antibioticus, specifically one used to inhibit DNA or RNA synthesis. Next is actinomycosis. Actinomycosis, noun from 1881. Infection with or disease caused by actinomyces, especially a chronic disease of cattle, swine, and humans, characterized by hard granulomatous masses, usually in the mouth and jaw. And actinomycotic is the adjective. Next, we have a much, much simpler word for me to say. It is the word action. This is a noun from the 14th century. 1. The initiating of a proceeding in a court of justice by which one demands or enforces one's right. Also, the proceeding itself. 2. The bringing about of an alteration by force or through a natural agency. 3. The manner or method of performing. 3a. An actor's or speaker's deportment or expression by means of attitude, voice, and gesture. 3b. The style of movement of the feet and legs as of a horse. Okay. 3c. A function of the body or one of its parts. 4. An act of will. 5a. A thing done, and the word deed is a synonym. 5b. The accomplishment of a thing, usually over a period of time, in stages, or with the possibility of repetition. 5c. In the plural form, behavior and conduct are synonyms, as in unscrupulous actions. 5d. Initiative is a synonym as well as enterprise, as in a man of action. 6a. 1, which means we're going to have a 6a. 2. But 6a. 1 is an engagement between troops or ships. 6a. 2. Combat in war, as in gallantry in action. 6b. 1. An event or series of events forming a literary composition. 6b. 2. The unfolding of the events of a drama or work of fiction. Plot is a synonym. 6b. 3. The movement of incidents in a plot. 6c. The combination of circumstances that constitute the subject matter of a painting or sculpture. 7a. An operating mechanism. 7b. The manner in which a mechanism or instrument operates. 8a. The price movement and trading volume of a commodity, security, or market. 8b. The process of betting, including the offering and acceptance of a bet, and determination of a winner. 8c. Financial gain or an opportunity for financial gain, as in a piece of the action. 9. Sexual activity. 10. The most vigorous, productive, or exciting activity in a particular field, area, or group, as in wants to be where the action is. That may have taken the cake for the most amount of definitions for one word. And Interestingly, I did not see the first one I thought of, which was what a director says when they're filming a movie. Or maybe I was just not paying attention as I read those 14 million definitions. Next is the word actionable. This is an adjective from 1591. 1. The subject to or affording ground for an action or suit at law. 2. Capable of being acted on, as in actionable information. And actionably is the adverb. Next is actioner, with an ER at the end. This is a noun from 1973. A film dominated by a high degree of exciting action. I have never heard an action film called an actioner. I might have to start using that just to throw people off. Next is action figure, noun from 1987. A small-scale figure as of a superhero used especially as a toy. I think that's kind of interesting that the first usage of that is only 1987. As one who grew up in the 80s, I guess I would have thought that it would have been earlier than that. But that's really when those toys and things started to get big, in the mid to late 80s. So I guess that makes sense. Obviously, G.I. Joe was around, I think, in the 50s, maybe when they came out, 50s or 60s. But they, I guess, weren't called action figures until 1987. Next is actionless. And it looks like that's just a one word. There's no dashes in there. This is an adjective, circa 1817, marked by inactions. Immobile is the synonym. Next is action painting, noun from 1952. Abstract expressionism marked especially by the use of spontaneous techniques as dribbling, splattering, or smearing. An action painter is a noun. I am going to take a wild guess and say that Jackson Pollock would be considered an action painter. And if I'm wrong, please send me an email at dictionarypod@gmail.com or on the Twitters at dictionarypod. Last word for this episode. It's 2 words. Action potential. Noun from 1926. A momentary reversal in electrical potential across a plasma membrane as of a neuron or muscle fiber that occurs when a cell has been activated by a stimulus. And with that, we will end this episode. Thank you so much for listening. I know I say it every time, but I am very appreciative to that small handful of you who are actually listening. And with that, I'm going to hit the stop button. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Thank you for joining me for another episode. And let's get into it. First word for this episode is activate. This is a verb, transitive verb 1626, to make active or more active. As A1, to make as molecules reactive or more reactive. Or A2, this is, I guess, 1A2? To convert as a provitamin into a biologically active derivative. B, to make a substance radioactive. C, to treat as carbon or alumina so as to improve adsorptive properties. That's adsorptive with a D, not absorptive with a B. D, 1, to set up or formally institute as a military unit with the necessary personnel and equipment. D2, to put an individual or unit on active duty. Now we have the intransitive verb definition. It just says to become active. Activation is a noun. Activator is also a noun. Now we have activated carbon, noun from 1921. A highly it says adsorbent. I might need to look up this word, adsorbent. A highly adsorbent powdered or granular carbon made usually by carbonization and chemical activation and used chiefly for purifying by adsorption, called also activated charcoal. And bear with me for a moment. I'm going to skip ahead. I'm going to do something I don't think I've ever done before and look up this word adsorbent or adsorption and see if it is correct, which I'm sure it is, or if it is a misspelling. 1 second. And of course, I cut out a little bit of space. It was just paper moving. Nobody wants to hear that. And yes, I see adsorb, A-D-S-O-R-B, as a word. I'm not going to read the definition because that would go against all of my rules, which I've clearly stated explicitly. So I just wanted to make sure it wasn't a misspelling, and we're going to go back to our words. So next is activation analysis, noun from 1949, and it just has the synonym neutron activation analysis. So if that's in the dictionary in the ends, we'll get there and we'll learn more about activation analysis. Next is activation energy, noun from 1924, the minimum amount of energy required to convert a normal stable molecule into a reactive molecule. Now we have active. This is a long one. The majority of this episode will probably be this one word. Adjective from the 14th century. 1. Characterized by action rather than by contemplation or speculation, as in an active life. 2. Producing or involving action or movement. 3a. In italics it says of a verb form or voice. Asserting that the person or thing represented by the grammatical subject performs the action represented by the verb, as in hits, in italics, in, quote, he hits the ball, is active. Okay, so let's just break this down for a second. There is a quote, he hits the ball, and the word hits is the active word. 3b, expressing action as distinct from mere, expressing action as distinct from mere existence or state. 4. Quick in physical movement. Lively is the synonym. 5. Marked by vigorous activity. Busy is the synonym, as in the stock market was active. 6. Requiring vigorous action or exertion, as in active sports. 7. Having practical operation or results. Effective is the synonym, as in an active law. 8a. Disposed to action. Energetic is the synonym, as in took an active interest. 8b. Engaged in an action or activity, as in an active club member. 8c. Of a volcano is in italics. Currently eruption or likely to erupt. And it says compare to dormant, 2a, that's the 2a definition from dormant, and the 1b definition from the word extinct. 8d, characterized by emission of large amounts of electromagnetic energy, as in an active galactic nucleus. That sounds cool. 9, engaged in full-time service, especially in the armed forces, as in active duty. And the immature part of me wants to make some comment on that, but I'm not going to. 10, marked by present operation, transaction, movement, or use, as in an active account. 11a, capable of acting or reacting readily, as in active nitrogen or active ingredients. 11b, tending to progress or to cause degeneration, as in active tuberculosis. 11c, this is of an electronic circuit element, capable of controlling voltages or currents. 11d1, requiring the expenditure of energy, as in active calcium ion uptake. 11d2, functioning by the emission of radiant energy or sound, as in radar is an active sensor. 12. Still eligible to win the pot in poker. 13. Moving down the line, visiting in the set. Used of couples in contredances or square dances. All right, let's break that one down a little bit. So this definition is used of couples in square dances or this other thing that I don't know and don't know how to say, but I assume it's similar to a square dance or maybe a line dance. So the definition is moving down the line or visiting in the set. Active is also a noun. Actively is the adverb, and activeness is the noun. And I think this word has broken the new record or created a new record for the most definitions. And if somebody wants to keep track of that for me, that would be awesome because I don't think I'm going to do it myself. But I'm going to say that this has 13 main definitions, and let's count total definitions, including the subs. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 total definitions for the word active. And I don't even remember if I said 20 or 21, but I think it was 21. All right, moving on, we'll do a few more for today. Active immunity, noun from 1895. Usually long-lasting immunity that is acquired through production of antibodies within the organism in response to the presence of antigens. And it says compare to passive immunity, which I'm assuming is the opposite. Next is active matrix. This is an adjective from 1980 of relating to or being an LCD in which each pixel is individually controlled. And we'll do one more just for safe measure. We're at about the halfway point on this column. Active site, S-I-T-E. This is a noun from 1957. A region on the surface of an enzyme whose shape permits binding only of a specific molecular substrate that then undergoes catalysis or catalysis. I think it's catalysis. C-A-T-A L-Y-S-I-S. And with that, we will end this episode. Thank you for listening all the way through. Please, of course, share to other weirdos like me and you who might be interested in this. Email is dictionarypod@gmail.com. Twitter is @dictionarypod. I think I'm going to stop saying those out loud because A, it wastes time, and also I put it in the episode notes anyway. So again, thank you for listening, and I will talk to you in the next episode. Goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Welcome to another episode. And I don't think I have anything interesting to say, so let's get right into it. It does sound like my voice is my mouth is a little dry, so I apologize if there's a little smacking. Let me see if I can fix that. All right, hopefully that's better. First word is active transport, noun from 1922. The movement of a chemical substance by the expenditure of energy against a gradient in concentration or in electrical potential across a plasma membrane. What is that talking about? The movement of a chemical substance by the expenditure of energy against a gradient in concentration or in electrical potential across a plasma membrane. Something sciencey that I don't know. Next is activewear, all one word, noun from 1924. Synonym is sportswear. Next is activism, noun from 1915. A doctrine or practice that emphasizes direct, vigorous action, especially in support of or opposition to one side of a controversial issue. Activist is a noun or adjective, and activistic is an adjective. Next is activity, noun from 1530. 1. The quality or state of being active. 2. Vigorous or energetic action. Liveliness is a synonym. 3. Natural or normal function, as a process as digestion that an organism carries on or participates in by virtue of being alive. Or 3b, a similar process actually or potentially involving mental function, specifically an educational procedure designed to stimulate learning by first-hand experience. 4. An active force. 5a, a pursuit in which a person is active. 5b, a form of organized, supervised, often extracurricular recreation. 6. An organizational unit for performing a specific function, also its function or duties. Next is Act of God, 1635. An extraordinary interruption by a natural cause, as a flood or earthquake, of the usual course of events that experience, prescience, or care cannot reasonably foresee or prevent. Next is actomyosin. This is a noun from 1942. A contractile complex of actin and myosin that together with ATP is active during muscular contraction. Next is actor, A-C-T-O-R. This is a noun from the 15th century. One that acts. And the word doer, D-O-E-R, is a synonym. 2a, one who represents a character in a dramatic production. 2b, a theatrical performer. 2c, one who behaves as if acting a part. 3, one that takes part in any affair. Actor-ish is an adjective. I don't think I've ever heard that one before. And actorly is another adjective. Also, don't think I've heard that before. Next is the word or phrase act out. This is a transitive verb from 1611. 1a, to represent in action, as in children act out what they read. 1b, to translate into action, as in unwilling to act out their beliefs. 2, to express as an impulse or a fantasy, directly in overt behavior without modification, to comply with social norms. And now we're onto the intransitive verb definitions. To behave, or maybe it's just one definition. To behave badly or in socially unacceptable, often self-defeating manner, especially as a means of venting painful emotions as fear or frustration. Next we have actress. This is a noun from 1608, a woman who is an actor. Actressy is an adjective. So this word actress I actually do think about every once in a while. Sometimes I will hear people talking about a female actor, an actress, and they'll use the word actor. And I always just grew up thinking that the word actress was the word to use. And so I always just thought it was kind of interesting that both words are interchangeable for female actors. And I don't have any strong opinions either way about that. It's just something that I've noticed. So I'm actually curious if any of you out there do have strong opinions on which should be used, or if you have any thoughts on why it's interchangeable, please tweet me at dictionarypod or email dictionarypod@gmail.com. The information is in the episode details. I feel like there are some strong opinions out there about this word, whether or not female actors should be called actress or actors, and men just get the word actor. Enough with that tangent. Moving on. This is the word acts, A-C-T-S, and it is capital. This is a noun from 1539, a book in the New Testament narrating the beginnings of the Christian church, also called the Acts of the Apostles. And then it says, see the Bible table. So when we get to the word Bible, there will be a table. Next, we have the word actual. This is an adjective from the 14th century. 1, this is obsolete. It just has the synonym active. 2a, existing in act and not merely potentially. 2b, existing in fact or reality, as in actual and imagined conditions. 2c, not false or apparent, as in actual costs. 3, existing or occurring at the same time, as in caught in the actual commission of a crime. I forgot what the word was for a second. Next is actual cash value, noun circa 1946. Money equal to the cost of replacing lost, stolen, or damaged property after depreciation. Actuality is a noun from 1618. 1. The quality or state of being actual. 2. Something that is actual. Synonyms are fact and reality, as in possible risks which have been seized upon as actualities. And that's from T.S. Eliot. And then at the end we have the term in actuality, which just says the definition of that is in actual fact. Next, and this will be last. Actualize, A-C-T-U-A-L-I-Z-E. This is a transitive verb from 1701, to make actual, and realize is a synonym. And the intransitive verb definition is to become actual. Actualization is a noun. That will be the end of the episode. Thank you for listening, and I'm going to move on to the next one. Thank you, and goodbye. Hello, word nerds. Thank you for joining me for another episode. First word for today is actually. This is an adverb from 15th century. 1. In act or in fact. Really, R-E-A-L-L-Y, is a synonym, as in nominally but not actually independent, and that's from Karl Lowenstein. And it is also as in won't actually arrive for an hour. 2. In point of fact. Used to suggest something unexpected, as in he could actually read the Greek. I cannot read Greek, so that is not talking about me. Next is actuarial. This is an adjective from 1869. 1. Of or relating to actuaries. 2. Relating to statistical calculation, especially of life expectancy. Actuarially is an adverb. Next is actuary. This is A-C-T-U-A-R-Y, in case you are not familiar with how that is spelled. I feel like my lips are not doing what I want them to do today. All right, noun from 1553. 1. This is obsolete. Synonyms are clerk and registrar. 2. A person who calculates insurance and annuity premiums, reserves, and dividends. Next is actuate, A-C-T-U-A-T-E. Transitive verb from 1645. 1. To put into mechanical action or motion. 2. To move to action. And then the synonym says C, move, M-O-V-E. Actuation is a noun. The etymology says this is coming from looks like Middle Latin, actuare, which means to execute. Next is actuator, A-C-T-U-A-T-O-R. This is a noun from 1808, one that actuates, specifically a mechanical device for moving or controlling something. Next is act up, 2 words. Intransitive verb 1903, 1. To act in a way different from that which is normal or expected, as 1a, to behave in an unruly, recalcitrant, or capricious manner, as in the children were acting up. 1b, show off is a synonym. 1c, to function improperly, as in this typewriter is acting up again. 2. To become active or acute after being quiescent, Q-U-I-E-S-C-E-N-T, as in her rheumatism started to act up. Next is, again, ACT UP, but it's all caps this time. This is an abbreviation for the AIDS Coalition to Unleash Power. Next is acuity, A-C-U-I-T-Y. This is a noun from 1543, keenness of perception. Next is, let's see if I can pronounce this, aculeate. Aculeate. Yep, A-C-U-L-E-A-T-E. Oh boy. A-C-U-L-E-A-T-E. See, I said my mouth and lips are not doing what I want them to do. This is an adjective from 1875, relating to or being, hymenopterans. All right, let's just read it and then I'll come back to that word. Relating to or being hymenopterans, as bees, ants, and many wasps, as a division, aculeata, typically having the ovipositor modified into a stinger. All right, well, there are some funky words in here. So, first of all, that word hymenopterans is spelled Hymenopterans. And the division that I mentioned was aculeata, A-C-U-L-E-A-T-A, which is typically having the ovipositor, O-V-I-P-O-S-I-T-O-R. Let me see if I can read it all together. Relating to or being hymenopterans of a division typically having the ovipositor modified into a stinger. And I got rid of the parts in the parentheses to make it more clear. And the etymology for this is from the Latin aculeatus, which means having stings. Next is acumen, A-C-U-M-E-N. This is a noun circa 1579, keenness and depth of perception, discernment or discrimination, especially in practical matters. And the synonym, it says C, discernment. Next is acuminate, A-C-U-M-I-N-A-T-E. This is an adjective from 1646, tapering to a slender point. So I wonder, like, if you were to call, or if you were to, like, look at a pin, because it tapers to a point, would you say that the pin is acuminate? I'm not sure. Next is acupressure, A-C-U, and then the word pressure, noun from 1958. The application of pressure, as with the thumbs or fingertips, to the same discrete points on the body stimulated in acupuncture that is used for its therapeutic effects, as the relief of tension or pain. And it says compared to the word shiatsu. Next is acupuncture, and I think this is the last word for today. A-C-U-P-U-N-C-T-U-R-E. This is a noun from 1684, and originally Chinese practice of inserting fine needles through the skin as specific points, especially to cure disease or relieve pain, as in surgery. Acupuncture is also the transitive verb, and acupuncturist is a noun. I have never had acupuncture. I'm a little freaked out by it. I know that they don't go very far, so I'm sure it's fine. I also am not completely sure on its actual scientific effects, but I do know people who have done it who have said that it has helped. But just the fact of having a bunch of needles sticking out of me does not sound appealing. And just backtracking a little bit to the word acuminate, my example that I made up was about a pin, and then we get acupuncture, which talks about needles, and so I'm wondering if those are actually related. That will be the end of this episode. Thank you for listening, and I hope you join me in the next one. We're going to start with the word acute, A-C-U-T-E.